and welcome back to Weighted Donuts. It's time for another show. I'm Wayne Unger. I'm here with my co-host, Craig Stier. How you doing, Craig?
I'm fine, Wayne. Good talking with you again.
I have to warn the audience, it's just Craig and I tonight. We had a guest lined up, but somebody just had to have a birthday yesterday, and, the guest could not maneuver around their schedule this week. But the good news is we may get him back in 2 weeks, and I think you'll find this guest quite fascinating in regards to what he's done. And but anyway,
I apologize.
Don't worry about that.
I apologize to you, Wayne, and to our guests.
Listen, don't be so serious, Craig. You're not allowed to be serious on this show.
But our listeners will be very interested in this guest, and I think Wayne has him set up in probably 2 weeks. And believe me, it's a really interesting guy, and the reason why he's tied up for the next 2 weeks is a very interesting sports related reason. So I know we'll have an interesting show next week, but in 2 weeks it's just terrific. So come back in.
So let's go. Well, come on, let's go to our favorite team. Let's start with the Yankees.
Well, we can start with the Yankees, but that's a lot of agita right off the bat. I think every game, every series gets me more and more upset. I don't know how you feel about it. I think you probably feel similarly, but it just kills me that they somehow entered this season with Cashman at the helm, thinking that Teixeira and A-Rod were going to be able to reproduce what they did last year. And the only thing they're reproducing at this point is just injuries and lost time. And I wasn't happy over the winter with the way, with the lack of deals and whatnot. And there's a certain type of team that can be built backwards. With your closers being the most important entity. But this was never going to be right because they were never going to be that good. I mean, what do you think? I mean, going into the season, you tend to be a lot more optimistic than I ever am. That's what I love about that. I love that, but I just didn't see it, Wayne.
You know what? You and I had missed each other for a couple of years. The season before this one, I was not as optimistic. Actually, they exceeded my expectations last year. This year, I felt as though the starting pitching was better than it was given credit for. And, and it's not that terrible. We knew the bullpen, at the back end was going to be good, was going to be like really good. And while, I didn't expect Teixeira to replicate the numbers he was putting up, but on the other hand, I did not expect him to be as bad as he's been. So, I mean, think about it. Think about like where this team would be if they were to have, let's say, Teixeira and A-Rod somewhere in between where they are now and where they were last year. I mean, I got it, because I think that would spread to the whole lineup. And so I got to think they'd be 4 or 5 wins better. So
I'm guessing they'd be at 500. I maybe a little bit better. I don't know.
Well, but you know what? 4 or 5 wins better would only put them around 3 or 4 games out of first place. Okay, I mean, 4 wins better would put them at 28 and 24 instead of 24 and 28. So actually, they would be closer to 3 games. Let me see. Have they played it? They've played, I believe, 1 less game than the Red Sox. They'd be 3.5 games out of first place. So,
well, they're not.
They're not. Okay, and you know, I'm one of those Yankee fans who I'm okay with a little bit of rebuilding. I really am. Although I think they're trying to rebuild and contend at the same time, because they want to fill the seats. So, but Cashman did, when you think about it though, Cashman did acquire Stalin Castro. He did acquire Aaron Hicks, who I think, he had a slow start, but he started to hit, and for the past 3-4 weeks, I think his numbers are respectable, playing excellent defense. And
he's hitting 190.
Well, but he was hitting 100. I mean,
right.
So he's, in other words, like if you take the last 2 or 3 weeks, now the number is higher, and listen, I mean, this was totally unexpected, but he added Aroldis Chapman. Now, I don't think that was part of the original game plan, but I think any team that adds Aaron Hicks and Stalin Castro and Aroldis Chapman and gives up Adam Warren and gives up John Ryan Murphy and gives up they give up 4 prospects. One was a truly a top 10 prospect in their system, a good prospect. The others were just bodies. So that's the bottom line. You know what? It's okay. Listen, I'm okay if this is what it is. I'm not happy about it. I'm okay because now I know that Mark Teixeira, his contract will be gone. Okay? Carlos Beltran, who's actually been hit, he was hitting quite well, and here's a dilemma that Joe Girardi and Brian Cashman actually have. Their big dilemma now is, as soon as Beltran started playing right field again, he stopped hitting. As soon as A-Rod came back and Beltran was in the field, he stopped hitting. When Beltran was the DH, he was on fire.
Yeah, he's
the outfield defense was better.
Yeah, he's clearly a DH, and A-Rod continues to be an albatross around the Yankees' neck. I'm telling you, I don't think he's going to hit 7 more home runs this year. I don't think he's going to reach 700. He looks terrible. He looks terrible.
Well, you know what? He does. I'll be honest with you. He does. But I don't know. I think he can hit 10 more home runs. I do. If they play him. But at this point, and I was one of the ones who advocated for him last year. Okay, I said he's going to hit 20 and knock in 80. That was last year. But I have to say, his bat looks really slow this year.
They caught
really slow.
They caught a really bad break with Greg Bird going down because, you knew Teixeira, we followed them long enough to know that Teixeira was going to get hurt, if not in April, by May, something was going to happen, whether it's a paper cut or, hitting his head on the bedpost. Something was going to happen to Teixeira. And I think we felt all along that we had first base covered because Bird looked like a really good ball player, and his going down was a big blow because now you really do have you really do have a gap at first base. It's the Mets just got James Loney. What do the Yankees do?
I know. Well, and the other blow was part of their backup plan at first base was Dustin Ackley, and who hit really well when he came to the Yankees last year.
Now I think he's now done for a while.
He's done for the season.
Yeah.
He's done for the season, and we're talking about. He was, he had some pedigree. I believe he was the second or third player picked in the draft when he was drafted.
Yeah.
So,
did you see how he got injured?
I believe he got diving for a ball.
I thought he was just diving back to the bag on a pickoff play. Maybe
you could be right.
That's just terrible. They're just snake bit at this point. And you were talking about you alluded to the pitching staff earlier. I'm exasperated by Pineda. Every time he pitches, I get more and more crazy. I didn't like that trade in the first place. I know Montero really certainly hasn't amounted to anything. And I'm guessing if he stayed here, that would have been the same. He didn't have a position and whatnot. But Pineda is exasperating, right? You see that, correct?
Yeah, but I won't agree with you that I didn't like the trade. I thought the trade was great. And but again,
based on what? Based on Pineda's half a year with the Mariners that year. I know he made the All-Star team. He had a full year. And his numbers were off the chart. I'm just wondering if the Mariners knew something that the Yankees didn't know, or if it's true, basically the story is Pineda was, felt a little sore in spring training, just come to a new team, didn't say anything to anybody, and just kept throwing because he wanted to, impress everyone and set himself back 2 years. But I kind of wonder about, the whole scope of things. But based on, anytime you can get a solid starting pitcher for a first baseman, unless that first baseman is, Albert Pujols in his prime, I'm taking the starting pitcher. So, and don't forget when they made that trade, they still had Teixeira, and Teixeira was, I think this was off of when that trade was made a while ago, and Teixeira was still viable, brittle but viable. And so I was good at that. But on the other hand, if you look at the Yankee pitching staff, Tanaka's elbow has not fallen off yet. Nate Eovaldi has been a revelation. Except for his time on the DL, even CC Sabathia is probably exceeding expectations. And Nova's had some bumps, but Nova's also had some good games. So, and I'm missing somebody. And then, and then the other thing is a guy who I thought he would be solid and steady, who just, he took an extra step up, and the step broke on him was Severino. But, boy, what a disappointment he's been. Holy mackerel. He's been just brutal. And you try to jump ahead to next year, and you try to figure out, what's going to be different next year than this year. And I don't know. The prognosis is not good. They're just a mess. And they're going to have to trade. They're going to have to unload Chapman and see what they can get. And you know what? You could always go back and sign Chapman if you want after the season. But it's an interesting idea. Some team that's going to be playing for the pennant with World Series aspirations would love to have Chapman. You never know, injuries and whatnot, but
I agree.
You have to unload these. You have to unload these guys. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Well, the scary thing is, though.
What?
The scary thing is, though, as a Yankee fan, okay, there's more talk about them trading Miller because of how much he would bring. Here he is. He's like a frontline closer. He's signed for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Great clubhouse guy, selfless. That's the talk. That, as a Yankee fan, scares me. Trade
I don't want to. Yeah.
I don't want to lose him. I'd like to keep Miller and Betances, and I'd like to keep them intact. Yeah, trade Chapman, absolutely. And you know what? If there's a team out there who wants a bat at DH, trade Beltran. I mean, he's a free agent at the end of the year as well. So you're not going to make a qualifying offer to him to get a first rounder. So I agree. If they, it's still early though. It's still early. No teams are panicking yet. No teams are looking to make a move yet. So you've got 30 to 45 days to see if the bats wake up, to see if A-Rod can come back up. Like I say, all I was hoping for, is just like something in between. That's what I was hoping for overall from the Yankee offense. I did think their pitching was better than people were saying. So I said, well, you know what? They really scored a lot of runs last year. Most of it, of course, was in the first half. I felt that they can go somewhere in between their offense in the second half and their offense in the first half. The pitching I expected to be better than people thought it would be. I felt as though they'd be okay. I picked them as a wild card.
Well, I
next year there's not a lot of free agents.
Yeah, a week ago I felt more bullish on them. I like the way they fought back to 500. And since then it was like climbing that hill took something out of them because they just don't hit. I mean, one of the wins this past week against the Rays, they only had one hitter. Had one hit. Yeah, I mean it was a home run, and the pitching, when the pitching's been good, it's been very, very good. But and CeCe's been a pleasant surprise. The bullpen has given up some, has had some problems. You can't expect the chances to be perfect. He hasn't been so great. So I think overall they're going to underperform this year, and we're going to be disappointed. I know that your expectations weren't so high. Mine weren't high either. The difference between you and I, you and me, is that you're okay with it all, and to me, it's infuriating. I can't stand a season that they just aren't competitive. Just drives me crazy. I admit I've been spoiled by the mid '90s. That stretch of 15 years is just remarkable. But boy, I just don't like I don't like the composition of the team. I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so. But the truth of the matter is, I just don't like this. I don't like this team. From top to bottom. I've never been a Gardner fan. The Ellsbury signing, I never understood. The lineup from top to bottom, I just don't dig. Hicks is an interesting ball player, but if he was any good, he'd still be in Minnesota. Starting. He's an upgrade in the outfield, but I don't think he can hit. Actually, I'm sure I don't think he can hit.
You know what? He's a project, and the reason we got him is because catching is still a shortage of catching, Minnesota needed a catcher. They were looking for a good young catcher. The year before last, Kirk Suzuki had a great year, and last year he didn't. And they got Hicks because Murphy's value was probably higher than it'll ever be. So that's why they got him. It's not because he was terrible.
Yeah. Well, I go back to the Yankees. Like, I don't even know why we needed McCann. I would have gone with Cervelli. And I'm not just saying that because Cervelli has turned out to be more than just a serviceable backup or something. He's a very good catcher, and I don't know. Cashman drives me crazy. So we should probably go on to a different subject because I'm getting.
But you're getting depressed?
I'm getting depressed. That's not good. Who wants to be depressed?
Well, okay. Well, I just want to let you know that unless the Yankees spend a ton of money next year, and I really hope they don't because it'll just be a ton of money for Band-Aids, its prognosis isn't all that much better for next year unless there is true surprises.
Yeah, I think they'll do something. You know, I don't want to sound like, remember the Knicks were just holding out for LeBron year after year after year, 5 years ago, whatever it was. And I don't want to sit here and say that we've got to hold out for Bryce Harper. But the truth of the matter is, I'd like to see him in the Bronx. I'd like to see him in the Bronx.
I'm going to run some names by you. These are guys that are all going to be free agents next year, either as actual free agents or they have an opt-out. Okay, and you tell me tell me to stop when a name hits you that you think a name who you think the Yankees should be in on next year.
And these guys are all free in 2017 free agents.
At the end of this year, they'll be free agents, but some have opt-outs.
Okay.
So technically, if they decide to opt out, they can be free agents. Okay.
Okay.
Carlos Gomez, Yoenis Cespedes, Jose Batista, Edwin Encarnacion, Josh Reddick, Andrew Cashner, Kenley Jansen, Adrian Beltre, Aroldis Chapman, Jesse Chavez, Jorge De La Rosa, Ivan Nova, Edison Volquez, Chris Medlin, Brett Anderson, James Shields, Scott Kazmir, Mark Melanson, Justin Turner, Matt Wieters, Neil Walker, Ian Desmond, Colby Rasmus. Nothing rang a bell, huh?
Oh yeah, there are two ball players right off the bat that if I was the Yankee GM, I'd be seriously thinking about. One, I'm not happy with the third base situation, and I don't see that getting better anytime soon. I don't see anyone coming up AA, AAA fixing that position right now. So, and I know Beltre's only getting older. His best years are behind him, but I bring him in a second.
But let me ask you a question. All right, he's going to be 37 soon. So, and that's a problem. That's a problem. So now the thing is, how many years? I mean, you're not going to get that guy for 1 year. Not based on what he's doing so far this year. So you tell me, how many years would you go max?
No, the truth of the matter is, you're absolutely right. I thought that he was younger. So I didn't realize he was 37 years old. So I take that off the table. I'm no longer interested in him because the guy's going to want 3 or 4 years, and there's no way he's going to be worth that down the road. So I wanted to start at third base because Chase Headley has just been a monumental disappointment. So I'm going to take that back, and I'm going to say the only ball player I think the only ball player who I'm interested on that list, and you've given me a hard time about it, but I like a ball player who, before the season starts, you can say, I'm going to pencil him in for 35 home runs and 120 RBIs. And the only guy on that list is Cespedes. I know he can be a hot dog. I know, there are a lot of issues, but he's got Yankee written all over him, doesn't he?
He, you know what? He does. But, I'm guessing it would take 5 or 6 years at least $25 million, probably more than, if he continues going at the pace he's going, I'm guessing it might take almost $30 million a year to get him.
Yeah, he probably would want more than 5 or 6 years, and that is a problem. But I think you have to think about the bat, and you've got to think, it's going to cost a lot of money, but they've got money. It's not our money, So, and I know it's at some point you've got to be concerned about luxury taxes and this and that, but you've got to get ball players to put standees in the seats, and Aaron Hicks is not going to do it, my friend. Cespedes will.
Agree.
I mean, okay.
I tell you what. Wait. Let's make this a little more interesting. Okay. Let's look about now. Here's the deal. Now, after the let's see. So wait. After the 2018 season, okay. So we're talking about. Well, that's going to be that's like practically 3 years from now. But in the same year that Bryce Harper is a free agent, so is Manny Machado, Josh Donaldson. Hopefully we'll still have Stalin Castro is still under contract. D. Gordon will be a free agent. Jose Iglesias, who I don't know if he's an upgrade over Gregorius. Jason Hayward has an opt-out. Of course, there's Bryce Harper, Andrew McCutchen, A.J. Pollock, Michael Brantley, Adam Jones. David Price has his opt-out. Kershaw has his opt-out. Jose Fernandez, Matt Harvey, Dallas Keuchel, Shelby Miller, Garrett Richards, Jose Quintana. Closers, you have Craig Kimbrell, Trevor Rosenthal, and, Andrew Miller. So,
look, Bryce Harper, who can afford Bryce Harper? There's only a handful of teams that realistically, you can't spend every last dime that you have on Bryce Harper, and he's not going to come to a team like that anyway. He's going to want to come to a team that has a chance to win. He doesn't want to go to a whole rebuilding. So, the same thing with Trout. How long is Trout going to stay in Anaheim with a crappy team? But as far as I'm concerned, if the Yankees aren't involved, if the Nationals don't sign him to a long-term contract before that contract, his current contract expires, you've got to do all you can. I mean, is he 22? Is he 23? I mean, how old is he? In 2 years he'll be 25. Still not in his prime, and you're gonna sign him for 10 years.
10 years, $400 million.
You want to know something?
It's worth it.
It's not our money, but I got to say, I think if you surround him with ball players so that, they've got to pitch to him from time to time and they can't just, intentionally walk him and play games with him, he's going to be worth every last dime, I think. I don't want to put all my eggs in that one basket because I mean I did that to cross over to a different sport. I just thought that LeBron was going to come to New York at some point, and year after year after year they would be so horrible, and they didn't get him, and they've been terrible for the last 5 years also. The Yankees really. I know you're okay with what's going on there, but there's really no reason for them to ever be as bad as they are right now. And I'm thinking that so Bryce Harper is a free agent at the end of the 2018 season or 2017?
End of 2018 season.
Okay, so he has this year and 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
So he'll be 25 years old when he becomes a free agent. I mean, has there ever been a ball player of his magnitude going on the market at that age? I don't think so.
Probably not. But let's keep something in mind. While he has immense talent, he got his first 3 years he was injured. His numbers did not equal the hype. Last year was totally off the charts. But to be fair, granted, listen, he's not being pitched to, but but this year is not like last year. So again, to get $400 million, let's say for 10 years, after the 2018 season, he's going to have to do what he did last year, particularly during the 2018 season. Otherwise,
No, I don't know about otherwise. I mean, unless he goes in the tank, and that's just not happening. I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, there's no getting around it. Look, I don't know. I mean, if you had your choice between Bryce Harper and Mike Trout, and we discussed this, I think, last week to some extent.
I know. I think we talked about whether or not we would trade Mike Trout. That was the subject. If I had my choice between the two, for the Yankees, I would probably go with Harper. Okay, because he's a lefty, and and I believe he's capable of putting up, like he did last season, of putting up Mike Trout seasons. You can't call them Bryce Harper seasons yet. He only did it once. Mike Trout's done it 4 times, I believe. So
yeah.
But yeah, I would still say yes, Harper over Trout. But you see, what I don't want to see the Yankees do after this season is I don't want them to do another year where they signed McCann, Ellsbury, and Beltran. I don't want them to do that again. That's why I'd rather, let the contracts, let them expire. You'll have Greg Bird back. You'll have Castro. Gregorius, he's an average shortstop. He can play, plays decent defense. He can hit a little. I don't know what to do. I don't know.
I want to ask you about Gregorius. I have to be honest with you. I'm not a fan. I don't think he's the answer. And I know they've got a kid coming up from the minors. I hope he gets there by next year because I'm not a big fan of Didi. Sell me on Didi, please.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is what I say about Didi. Okay, last season, he started off horrendously. He had a phenomenal second half for a shortstop, both offensively and defensively. And I will say this, the Yankees were better at shortstop in 2015 by far than they were in 2014. So that's
Okay.
number one. But Gregorius, listen, he's not Carlos Correa. He's not Francisco Lindor. He's not, prime Jeter, prime Garcia Parra, prime A-Rod, and on and on and on. But he's not, he's an average shortstop. He's not a star, but you know what? You got to put him somewhere in the middle. And he may, if I counted, if I went through the, all right, let's go through this. I mean, all right, I'll name guys off the top of my head who I think are better. Okay, you've got Correa, Lindor, and I'm taking offense and defense into consideration. You've got Corey Seager, you've got Brandon Crawford. I guess you could put Andrus ahead of him. Help me here. Come on, name some shortstops.
Well, I'm just going to go I'm going to jump to the National League, and every shortstop I think of, even the Mets shortstop situation, I'm just not a Didi fan.
Okay.
I don't think he's a middle of the pack guy. I think he's below middle of the pack.
Well, keep in mind there's 30 major league teams, so middle of the pack is ranked 15.
Yeah, I'm going to say that there are 20 shortstops that I'd rather have.
Well,
I can't name them off the top of my head, but I like Cabrera on the Mets better than I like him. I do.
I tell you know what? Everybody was saying, "Oh, he's been such a revelation on defense," and then he got exposed for a couple of weeks, and then he's all of a sudden steady again. But I don't know if I would say he's better. I tell you what, I can go with I can pull up a list of shortstops, and I guys that play full time. So, okay, Bogarts is better. Okay.
Addison Russell's better.
Addison Russell is better. Lindor, Andrus, Seager. I'll say Jody Mercer is better. Alcides Escobar, Crawford, Story, Correa. But, there's other guys on this list. I tell you what, Tulowitzki's still really good in the field, but he's not doing anything at the plate. So
that's Didi. That's Didi.
Well, but you know what? Okay, Didi is actually among shortstops that qualify, and unfortunately, they have a couple of guys on here that played multiple. First of all, I'm looking at this list, and it's shortstop. They got Manny Machado on this list. He shouldn't be on this list. Oh, I'll rate Zach Cozart ahead of him. But Didi is 16 on this list, but Machado should not be on this list. Eduardo Nunez has been playing a little of everywhere, but he's been playing shortstop. And we know he can't catch. He can hit, but we know he can't field. So that kid that stepped in for the Cardinals, is looking better. But I still listen. I'll name some guys: Eric Ibar, Danny Espinosa, Troy Tulowitzki, Nick Ahmad, Freddie Galvis, Brad Miller, Alexi Ramirez. You like Cabrera better. I don't, but I mean, I'm naming a bunch of guys now who I don't think are better, and then there's probably guys on this list that I think, you can make a case for them and Didi as to who should be ahead of them. But
I'm guessing that when push comes to shove, we both have him seated of the 30 major league shortstops closer to 20 than 15. I don't mean to be nitpicking, but he's middle of the pack, but he's he's
but you know what? The bottom line is Didi Gregorius is not the Yankees' problem. He's pretty much given them like, what they expected. He plays good defense, okay? And, he hits 261. He doesn't get on base much, but he hits 261. Once in a while, he surprises you with a home run, and he plays good defense. And he can drop the bunt down. That he's a placeholder. But the problem, that's not the problem. The problem is the corner infielders. The problem is in the outfield, and the problem has been, the problem was Severino, and we know Pineda's been a problem. So he's a placeholder. But the other guy, we're not getting, oh God. And now I forgot his name, and it's not, I keep thinking Jorge Rosario, but it's not. Ahmad Rosario is the young shortstop in the Mets farm system. Oh, Mateo is the Yankee shortstop, but we won't see him for a couple of years unless he just does something phenomenal in the minor leagues in the second half of this year. Does something phenomenal and has an insane camp. But like I say, I don't want the Yankees to do what they did. And by the way, I know you said you were not a fan of Ellsbury. But I have a very good memory when it comes to certain things. And I will say this. The Ellsbury signing, I liked it better than the Jason Giambi signing. And I know you like the Jason Giambi signing.
Well, there are aspects of the Giambi signing I didn't like. I didn't like that meant that was a death knell for Pino. But at the time, Giambi was the prize of that year's free agent crop. And the stadium was, in theory built for him. Ellsbury, I just don't like players who are injured all the time. I just don't, Ellsbury can have a good month, a great month, and all that means is that he's going to run into a wall or something's going to happen. He's just a heartbreak waiting to happen.
I think he's only had like two, three max really healthy seasons. There was his MVP year, and then I think he had one other year, and that was it. I know. And he's been hurt. I was like, he's been hurt already. He's been playing hurt. So
he's always playing hurt. And then the fact that the Yankees became so enamored with Brett Gardner, I never got that either. I never got it. Never was a big fan. So, look, the bottom line.
I think when he had a little power surge, I think that seduced them. And all of a sudden they were saying, wow, he's also, he's growing as a ball player. Yeah, he's growing into some power too. But,
I don't know, Wingo. I think that they're, I don't like the way, I'm going back to the outfit of the show. I just don't like the way the team's built. If I was a GM, it would never have gotten to this point. I just don't like it. I don't like Gardner and Ellsbury together. They just, I don't need two of the same guys in the lineup. I just don't. To me, it's almost a replication of having like all these closers. You need one. You don't. I mean, it's nice to have three. But the team isn't built so that you're not maximizing. You're not getting the bang for the buck. If you're going to win 75 ball games, you don't need three close. You don't need a stellar bullpen. And in theory, it's a wonderful thing to have this law firm of guys, Betances, Miller, and Chapman. It's wonderful, but you have to be built to win.
Of course, but now, okay, let's flip it a little bit. Now, if the Yankees had a little bit of offense, okay, then these closes, then it's, it kind of makes sense, and that taken into consideration. Let's say Betances was no longer a guy who was under control by the team, where Betances isn't even eligible for arbitration. So let's just say he was arbitration eligible, okay? If the offense was just hit it, like I say, it was in that place, in between last year and this year, if they were in that place, then having Chapman, Miller, and Betances, if they had to pay $30 million a year, I'd say it would be worth it, because they'd have games to close out.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, when you think about what it's starting pitchers are going for, I mean, a star is getting 25, 30 million. A good starting pitcher is getting 15 plus.
Yeah.
So
all I know is that the Yankees will start to turn it around at some point, starting pitching wise. And as soon as that happens, Tanaka's elbow will collapse. Yeah, that's a ticking time bomb too, Wayne.
I agree.
And I really think, if they fall out of contention, and there's no reason to think that they're going to do anything but that this year. I say just shut him down and have the freaking surgery and be done with it, because this whole you're waiting for something. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. Everyone. What?
If you shut him down, let's say you shut him down now. Do you know when you'd get him back?
Yeah, the end of the middle. It takes a year. It takes a little bit more than a year. He could be shut down all. He could be shut down all next year.
I'd say if they shut him down now, they'd get him back in 2018.
Yeah, but you want to know something?
His contract might be up. So they get 1 year of him.
Well, but what are you accomplishing now? These games, these are empty wins. You're not playing for the division. I hate to be such a downer about this, but they're not going to be in contention.
I understand, but you know what? On the other hand, you can't. I mean, you can't say, what the heck? Listen, it's going to go soon. You're positive it's going to go sooner or later, but it's a crapshoot. And based on the best medical advice, they're saying, if you watch his workload and with treatment and with the rest that he had, he can go, because they're saying the medical experts, okay, guys, who have actually done more than dissect frogs, have all said, no, his tear was not severe enough to warrant Tommy John surgery. And when you think about it, based on the way he's pitched, and I think he certainly has exceeded everyone's health expectations. He did hit the DL last year, but it was not elbow related. So I don't think you can really say that and say, no, man, shut him down, cut him open, let him lose, almost 2 years of his career. Because that's what it would essentially be. Maybe he'd be able to come back in September, but why would you even risk having him come back in September? of
you would.
2017.
You would.
So I think you got to keep rolling with it. So, okay. Look, I think we're boring all the Mets fans and anyone who's a fan of any other team. So,
well, that's why we do this every week. We'll touch on the other teams starting next week. This was our Yankees. We were able to open up a vein and vent, and so we're done. I'm done with the Yankees. No more. You won't hear from me on the Yankees anymore.
Yeah. Okay. And you know what? And if we're lucky, next week we'll have a guest, so we don't bore everybody.
We will. I'm sure we will.
How's
I'm
that?
sure we will.
So,
okay.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to end the show and say goodnight to everybody. Craig, it's been a pleasure.
Same here. I look forward to next week, and we'll speak as the week goes on, and look forward to touching base with our listeners next week. Have a good week, Wayne.
And Craig, I want you to know our listeners are really looking forward to seeing you on Facebook in one form or another.
It's coming. All our fans,
okay.
Weighted Donuts. You'll be seeing something on Weighted Donuts sooner than later.
Okay. All right. Good night, Craig. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Wayne. Bye-bye.
All right.